What happened to the smartest kid in your class?
Story 1.
He got a full ride to Harvard, did an internship his first summer at Intel, and was killed by a drunk driver a few weeks after arriving in California. Fucking couldn't believe it when it happened 25 years ago. Still can't, really.
Story 2.
When I was in middle school, we had a super smart kid join later on in the semester that was always teased because he was above everyone else mentally. I think in 8th grade he was doing 10th or 11th grade mathematics. Any test that he took always passed with flying colors, hardly even studying. He befriended me. I was a quiet kid in middle school because of stuff going on at home. His mom always made me an extra sandwich whenever she made his lunch. I lost contact after graduation, but a few years later, when I was a sophomore in college, I decided to look him up on Facebook and couldn't believe what I saw. There was my friend, the Brainiac, smoking salvia out of a huge bong as his profile picture. I think he had to take it down because when I looked him up again, he had pics of him drinking out of a funnel. I can't speak for anyone else, but I was in a similar position in high school and experimented with just about everything out there, including the madness that is salvia. $500K in scholarships, and I didn't take a single one. Probably was known, and will always be known as a drug addict to most that I went to school with. Now a VP of a global company, living thousands of miles away from home, and more successful than I would have ever dreamed possible. My 20s were rough, but I'd bet a lot the younger cohort here ended up better than you'd think.
Story 3.
The smartest kids I knew in school turned to alcohol and doing really dumb shit. Maybe not all, but quite a few. The bullies didn't amount to anything either. The mediocre ones in the middle were the ones that had successful careers and normal lives. My bullies became cops. No joke. Of the 3 people I knew from high school who eventually became cops, all of them were bullies. Only one of them really bullied me, and it was only for a little while until I confronted him in front of some of our mutual friends and asked why he was being a dick and what had I ever done to him. Then he laid off me, but he was still a bully to other people. Dude had rage issues too, and the reason he started fucking with me was because I refused to follow his orders. When I found out he was a cop a couple decades later, I was just like, Jesus, I'd hate to ever get pulled over by him. He acted like one of those dick cops you see foaming at the mouth, screaming in people's face for refusing to let him shit on their rights before he even had any official authority. Can't imagine what he turned into once he got some.
Story 4.
Dropped out of college to marry and support the much younger woman he got pregnant. Now, 30 years later, owns a board game store with a large back room for mini painting and games and plays dad to half of the neurodivergent kids in town. Still married to the same woman, too. It's not a high-flying life, but he makes a difference to so many people.
Story 5.
Guy had 3 scholarship offers, lasted 1 year in uni before jumping off a building. Feel sorry for him and his family. I was in a really dark place at the start of this year, during my first week in uni. I was the stereotypical gifted kid during secondary school and sixth form, 12th through 18th education total in the UK. Especially during secondary, the teachers would have me check their answers, and if I got a different result to the textbook, they'd have to come in as a mediator to see who was right. I wanted to kill myself during my first university year. I still struggle with the thoughts. This was made worse by my depression affecting my results, making my grades and performance drop. And because I, for so long, had valued myself according to academic achievement, it really burned. I felt especially worthless. There's a bridge on the way to the train station and university. It's not a big drop, but it's right above a motorway. I thought about jumping off of it a lot. I resonate with the story. I can only hope that I don't head back into that dark place when my second year starts.
Story 6.
She got a PhD in neuroscience from Stanford, and I think she's a professor or associate professor somewhere now. She was possibly the sweetest girl I'd ever met. I was an intelligent underachiever and ended up in a few AP courses with her because our teachers saw my test scores and refused to continue to let me do dipshit things with my dipshit friends. She was always super proud of me when I actually showed up and put some effort in, and lo and behold, got excellent marks. Honestly, she really turned around the last 2 years of high school for me. Also, she's wicked hot now. A hot genius.
Story 7.
After never having even smoked a cigarette or drank alcohol in high school, straight A's all the way through, he got a full ride to a really good university. As a freshman, he dropped acid, walked out in front of a car, and was killed. Sort of reminds me of a college friend. He was straight edge. No drugs, alcohol, I think he even stayed away from caffeine. Said addiction ran in his family, so it made sense. Decided, though, that immediately after graduation he wanted a huge party and had his first alcohol. Got insanely trashed, but survived. For about 20 years. He died of liver failure due to severe alcoholism at the age of 41. I hate that I remember where he was, where it started, but what did we know?
Story 8.
He spent years researching how to cloak himself like the Predator from 1987 film with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He got surprisingly far before he ended up getting a top secret government job. Haven't heard from him since. Maybe he's a secret agent. Maybe he actually became the Predator. No one knows.
Story 9.
She married a religious fruitcake 12 years older than she was almost immediately after graduation and started pumping out kids. Never went to college, has never had a job, spends her days on Facebook shaming people for being sinners.
Story 10.
He was an idealist, became a priest and served in the Vatican, became disillusioned and left the church, got 2 master's degrees, and died by his own hand. He was truly a good person who couldn't marry his ideals with the reality of the church.
Story 11.
My best friend, at the time, we drifted apart and speak only rarely now. He got a PhD at Harvard, studied science in Antarctica, and now teaches at an Ivy League university.
Story 12.
There are 2. I remember one of them crying when they got an A- on a test in like 7th grade. One of them, the one who cried, is an executive in a Fortune 500 company. Nothing special, but making a lot of money. The other one is a brain surgeon.
Story 13.
I had such a big crush on her and told her. We dated. She moved across country to study and is now a doctor. So proud of her, even though our lives changed paths.
Story 14.
Went to MIT, works for Apple, and has a very expensive home in California. He also has a wife and 4 kids and seems to be very happy. I remember he was programming games in high school and was valedictorian, a big nerd who became a wealthy big nerd.
Story 15.
The smartest one I knew ended up drowning, tragically, right after we graduated. I wish I could have seen him make an impact on the world.
Story 16.
The smartest kid in my school was really popular and was one of my closest friends, but when he graduated, he left everyone and everything behind, including his family. He even changed his name. I found out this little bit of information because a friend went to an academic conference and showed me a group photo, and he was in it. I exclaimed, "That's my friend Pascal." He kept his first name, but his last name was an anagram of his original name.
Story 17.
There were 2. They were twins. They were both geneticists, now with PhDs, and they work at the same university. That's honestly so cool how they got to stick together all throughout undergrad and grad school and secure a position at the same institution.